Konnichiwa, Wojtek des. Now, a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, hikosaemon, gimmeabreakman, and hopedoe had a live broadcast, and the subject was generative AI and how generative AI could have an influence on the work and life of artists, of graphical artists. Like hopedoe is a graphical artist. I'll put a link in the description to her Instagram account so that you can see a bit more of her work. Yes, that's better. So that you can get a look at her work. And I will also put a link towards the video so that you can also see the video. It was interesting because Hope herself is an artist. hikosaemon is a legal advisor, so that was interesting to see her point of view. But although from the beginning I was a bit surprised, the general public knew a lot about. The general public got an interest for generative AI after ChatGPT came known. ChatGPT was spread very fast amongst the public. Everybody knew it. Everybody was surprised, and I was a bit surprised about that because I already knew about drawing programs with artificial intelligence, which flabbergasted me. But maybe that is because I don't know a lot about drawings, and like hopedoe says, people usually don't see the mistakes that generative AI makes in drawings. There are things which really don't fit. One of the problems, for instance, is having two left hands or two right hands and things like that. But there are also other small mistakes, and she sees that, but most people don't. I also think that most people are also very impressed by ChatGPT because if you typed in, and also if you ask, for instance, type me a text like this or that, then the text appeared much faster than you could read. For me, I'm not a graphical artist, but I'm a professional translator, and I also have done a bit of copywriting, but not a lot because I'm a rather good author, although I say it myself. But there's a huge difference between writing for yourself and writing for somebody else, because my problem was how to know what the client wants, what's in his mind, what does he want to see on paper, how does he want to see his product in a text or so. I had difficulties with that, and therefore I only did copywriting a few times, but not a lot. I'm more on my ease if I can choose my subjects myself and the whole subject matter and the and everything involved with it, then okay. But really, writing for somebody else is something else. It's there are different demands. So, but I have used ChatGPT to try it out to see what it gives. And on one of my blogs, I think I've published approximately 50 stories on it written by ChatGPT. Really, 50. Now they are only 250 words long, so it's not really that long. And it is amazing. You put a question in ChatGPT, you ask, write me a story about this or about that, and it comes and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, which is in itself surprising that it can do that. The structure is all right, and also if you read it, it fits together. It reads like a story, and the final sentence also you can see it as a conclusion for the whole story. It's amazing. It's impressive, but I know how they work. You see, they work with statistical information. Actually, the program, those LLMs they call them, large language models, they actually don't know what they are saying. What they are doing is they take a word and then they check how often do certain words appear in the environment of this word. And then they just take the words which appear most of the time with that word, and they also added a randomizer because otherwise you would end up with always the same combination. So they put in a randomizer to make a choice between the different possibilities which appear more or less. That randomizer also gives a bit the impression that it is a bit more nature and so on. But what I've noticed is that, first of all, for an author, it becomes boring. That's what hopedoe also says. There's some kind of reward when you make it yourself, when you have, it's difficult. It's some kind of psychological reward. You have made something, and then you see something which you have made and not somebody else. It's not just something you bought. So that's the first thing you lose. And if you use such a program to write stories, and it really becomes boring, really boring. You only fill in the job description, you could say, the description of the kind of text you want to get, and then there you get the gold text at the rate twice as fast as you can read, which is impressive. But in the end, you become the robot. And there's really no fun anymore in writing stories or writing text or whatever. You can use it if you need a text for something that you could say, by the way, I've published approximately 50 texts, 50 stories made with that system, but not really on my primary blog. It is on a smaller blog, and I think it will. They have less and less functions on that blog site, and I think it will appear in a few years' time or so. It really looks to me as if they are closing down. So it's not really as if I really wanted to do something with it. It was just, I tried it and I saw the result, and I preserved the result on that blog. That's what happened. Now, but I've also used it once to write non-fiction texts about translation. It was based on a book. I had read a book about translation which dates back to the 70s, and I took the structure of the book, the chapter titles and the paragraph titles, and I used it chapter by chapter. And chapter by chapter, I gave the LLM the command to make a text, and it are rather short text because usually those talks are rather short. But you notice that there is a difference. I used several of those texts also in a discussion list I have with some friends, and it's incredible. But some people then answered, and if you would have put the texts written by, in this case, ChatGPT next to the text, the answers from the members, then you immediately saw the difference. There is a difference. The difference is the texts written by people are more concise. It's those LLMs try to avoid mistakes, and by doing that they take a grammar which doesn't take risks. They don't want to take risks with the grammar. They don't want to take risks with the phrasing, with the vocabulary. There's not an original mind behind it, and that's what you notice. Maybe other people don't notice it, but I see it. You read such a text and it's right. It's not interesting, and that's very odd. So I doubt. Okay, for non-fictional texts, it might be interesting, but even non-fictional texts start to read boring in the end with that kind of stuff. And a lot of people have difficulties writing text. Not everybody does it just like that. But if people tell me I've written a book using ChatGPT or whatever, there are other possibilities too, then I always wonder, but if you want to have a good result with ChatGPT, then your input has to be so detailed, and it has to tell such a lot about what you want to read that you could as well write it yourself. I don't see the benefit of something like ChatGPT. I just don't see it. It maybe you gain a bit of time. It's possible. It's possible, but I think it's only useful for people who it's like speech recognition. If you can blind type, speech recognition is just useless. Touch type, I mean, if you can touch type, then speech recognition is not really a big deal. Makes it, if you're using speech recognition, the moment you end up to have to dictate a proper noun, the best thing you do is excuse me, the best thing you do is stop using speech recognition and type it yourself, and then go on again with the speech recognition. That's one of those problems with speech recognition. There's always a certain thing lacking, and that's what you get with those LLMs too. Also, I was a bit surprised when I saw people reacting so heavily on those LLMs, because all of a sudden from one day to the other they thought, no, it's done with translators. But I'm a professional translator since more than 25 years, I think. Yeah, it's a bit over 25 years. And every time there's something new with computers, I've once said it looks as if a translator is a favorite boxing ball of or sparring partner of the IT. When they come with something new, they always say, and now we're going to replace all the translators. I've never seen it happen. Now, I don't think there's a big future in translation, but they won't be replaced that easily. And I also don't understand why. Yeah, but also we are using for starters computer-aided translation tools, and you also have MT, machine translation, and those tools become more and more sophisticated, and that's partly because they introduce more and more intelligent features in it. In the past they used the term smart, now they say intelligent, but it's the same thing. And the more intelligent so there's a gradual increase in the quality of what CAT tools and MT tools give to us. So I don't see a sudden jump from nothing to everything. And that's also why I don't really understand why all of a sudden there would be a problem in the translation industry. I don't think there is. But what I do think is that now a lot of people believe that there is a problem. I'm afraid that I have a bit of noise in my... And that means that lots of people might start investing in it and losing money in it. It's a bit like the situation in the 19th century. So mid-19th century, then the steam engine became what was a novelty, and especially the steam locomotive was a novelty. And lots of people started to invest in the railways. So they put a line from A to B and so on, or B to C, depended on where and what and the money they had. And also those people went bust. But the result of it is that you had that line there, it was already built, and then somebody else could buy it at a very low price. So they could make a profit out of it. Why? Because somebody else who had lost all his money had actually put a lot of money into it, which disappeared. And I think we will see the same thing happen around the year 2000 with the dot-com bubble, as they say. When everybody started investing in online companies, of which a lot have disappeared too. People tend to forget that, but a lot of those online companies disappeared, and but some were thriving and could partly use what was developed by the others. They could buy their software and so on, and at low prices, because they were bust. They had debt. The debt had to be paid. So you take any price you can get, and they made it. The ones who bought it made it profitable. And we might now see the same thing. Lots of companies investing in artificial intelligence, going bust after a while, but have developed a lot of software, a lot of databases, and then selling all that work to others who then make the profits. The same thing seems to going on with electric cars at the moment too. When I just said database, that's something we started filling up databases as a translator around the year 2000 or so, just at the end of the 90s. Those databases became gradually bigger and bigger. Partly what we can do with generative AI is partly but something we did to ourselves. People put things on the internet. Around 2000, everybody would have put anything on the internet: pictures, photographs, drawings, movies, music, texts, lots of text, and nobody ever thought about the possibilities of using that to make LLMs or other generative AI systems. So it has been partly our own doing. We shouldn't have been so generous with putting things for free on the internet. And that happened because lots of people believed that it was a step to going further in their own career, they saw it as kind of free publicity. But that was not, of course. And well, lots of people have been putting a lot of internet for free and actually didn't earn anything with it. You could say, for instance, YouTube is also such a thing. Lots of people put free movies on it. They are allowed to put their movies on it for free, but you also give them for free. But that makes YouTube popular, so that the people who actually make money on the movies get everything for free. That's the same kind of stuff. Now, so what I'm doing here, I should be leaving. It's nice weather outside, so I'm sitting inside making a recording. Now, that happens a lot. Now, there are robot.txt, robot.txt on HTML sites and on sites, which tell, for instance, that the material on the site shouldn't be scraped. But there was recently an article on the website of the BBC, and I'll put a link in the description, which told us that they are still scraping. Even if you put in the robot text that the site shouldn't be scraped, some of those companies and some of those bots are still doing it. That's also one of those problems that we have, of course, that they don't follow the rules. Now, I have to say that, in my opinion, there's a huge difference between what happens now with software. You see that politics reacts rather fast on it. We already have rules in the European Union for the use of AI, and I think that a lot of countries will follow in some way, because it's also striking that nowadays politics sees much more the dangers than it did in the past. There was a report by the International Monetary Fund lately who said that, okay, artificial intelligence will give possibilities, but it is also very dangerous. It's even I'm going to see whether I can find it somewhere. There were even at the moment, I can find it somewhere. They admitted that there might be possibilities. They even didn't say that there will be an improvement of productivity and so on. They said it might, but they also said that there's a very big danger for inequality, and they also said, and now mind you, the International Monetary Fund is not a socialist organization, but they stressed the importance of having good unemployment benefits, which is, yeah. So lots of people now on certain levels see the dangers for artificial intelligence, and I didn't see that happen earlier with some of those automation techniques. So that's a bit the conclusion. The field is still evolving very fast. Hikosaemon and gimmeabreakman and hopedoe did their video approximately 2 weeks ago on the 8th of June. We are now, almost 2 weeks later, and already have other information about the International Monetary Fund, for instance, and the report that they have brought out. For instance, Sheryl Crow also reacted when she saw, when she heard actually a song by a dead artist, and they had brought his voice to life with artificial intelligence. She said it was, she didn't really like it. It's also dangerous, you know, because you can imagine that it's a slippery slope, and that's always a problem with that kind of stuff. They can start with having the singer bringing a song which he had written at the end of his life, but because he died, he didn't have time to perform it, so they can bring that out. That happens a lot already if they had recordings, but now they can also start doing it with songs they haven't recorded yet. And then they can go a step further and take songs they have found which he had written but never recorded because he didn't like it for some reason. And the next step can be that they give him songs which he has never written himself, and then they can start having him saying things which he would never have said, which he wouldn't even agree. It's very dangerous to use artificial intelligence in that way. And you have a Star Wars movie which they have put Carrie Fisher. I didn't watch that movie. They make her do things which she never did. And maybe it was rather limited, but you never know. It's a slippery slope, and they always go a bit further. And at a certain moment, you have to say, stop here and no further, because otherwise it's going to bring us too far. And that's in general the big problem with generative AI. They can do too much with it, and we really need legislation to halt it. I know that some people say, yeah, you can't stop it, legislation won't work, and this and that, but that's rubbish. They also have people who say you can't protect yourself against the burglars because they will also enter. Yes, but if your house is not good enough defended, then the not good enough closed off, then the insurance company won't pay you if you're burgled. So it does work. Everything which stops them, stops them. Everything which slows them down, slows them down. And everything which slows them down makes a problem less worse. The same with artificial intelligence. If you have no rules, anybody can do anything they want. If you have, it will be much more difficult. So that's the conclusion, I think. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. So bye. Thank you for watching.